had your kind attention.
I thought I had it made, you know? Uniform, medals, genuine war hero.
Got guts, he's a leader. You can see that he's thought this thing through.
I said fall in, you slimy worms!
I think you're the biggest fool ever saw on two legs.
You know, we really gotta work on that motivation thing.
2 more days. All easy country now. You as good as home.
What are we waiting for?
He has a way of getting things out of me that I never knew I had in me.
Enjoy yourselves this evening, but be off the island by tomorrow.
Let's face it, baby, your heritage ain't nothing but a bunch of raggedy spirituals and some grass huts.
But what you have not yet learned is the way we Drex express the truth.
Get into your fatigues, Neil. At the end of this weekend, you'll quit.
Now you know everything.
May I please have your kind attention?
Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publicists Association's Let It Be Known. And yes, Louis Gossett Jr. What a talent. I really like the story he told when he decided to go to Hollywood. He was on Broadway first and decided to go to Hollywood. He wanted to pursue his acting. They wanted him to pursue sports, but folks around him wanted him to pursue sports, and he decided to do acting. He went to Hollywood and immediately was pulled over by the police. It was like his welcome to Hollywood moment, constantly pulled over by police. But this guy was amazing, amazing, amazing. Perhaps a little unsung too, as you've seen clips there. I mean, very, very versatile. If you were a fan of the Jeffersons in the 1970s, you remember that George was about to take him home, take him out. He messing with Weezy. But Louis Gossett Jr., the first to win, the first African American to win a Best Supporting Actor for his role, and an Officer and a Gentleman. He certainly is a talent that is will be missed for sure. But we do remember this morning the great Louis Gossett Jr. This morning, again, we talk about staying woke, being awake. The George Floyd Memorial Scholarship, which is being offered at North Central University in Minneapolis, Minnesota, is being accused of violating the Civil Rights Act, according to a federal complaint. Now, remember, they've taken down pretty much the fund down there, the Fearless Fund down in Georgia, ever since the Supreme Court said they were taking away affirmative action. The Trump folks, the ultra conservative, right wing extremists, they're going after these. Now they're claiming that Black folks are racist, and so they want to take away all of these programs to help benefit Black and brown and other minorities. So we're going to talk about that this morning. Donald Trump reposted a video. Now, again, as much as we loathe having to talk about Trump, this is important. It's another one of those things because when you see anybody really, but particularly a person of color, say, going all out supporting this guy, just think about the imagery here. Now, it involved Joe Biden, but think broader, think bigger. As they used to say when we were younger, think outside the box. Trump reposted a video of Biden tied up to the back of a pickup truck. Think about that. We'll talk about that this morning. University of Utah's women's basketball team's traumatic experience at the NAACP. Gosh, I always want to say NAACP, but it's the NCAA. They need the NAACP. It's what the failure of college basketball, the NCAA, to protect these women is absolutely disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. the racist and racial attack by the University of Utah's women's basketball team. It's totally unacceptable. Should never have been able to happen. We'll talk about that this morning as well. And the all-out assault on DE&I continues, and now has gotten so that white extremists, MAGA folks, and Republicans are using DE&I in place of the N word. Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into that this morning. Power 96 is eating crawfish for breakfast. He's, but he brings up something. He says that let's get ready to rumble. He says, when will a white coach speak about DE&I? He said those coaches are complaining about the NIL deals, but are silent on banning DE&I. And he's 100% right. Where is these coaches who benefit so much from having black and brown athletes come to their schools, make them millions upon millions of dollars, yet they sit silent as the extremists destroy, dismantle DE&I? Interesting. Interesting. Here's something else I want to talk about before we get into things this morning. I don't know how many paid attention to this. And if you didn't, I understand why you didn't. I mean, but um, armed with this fiery exchange between Chris Wallace and Larry David of Curb Your Enthusiasm fame, Seinfeld fame, and the cold hard facts of celebrity and athlete salaries. Chris Wallace, a seasoned journalist, faced off against Larry David. Um, and the topic at hand was Larry David's net worth. Innocent enough, right? Wrong. In his pursuit of journalistic rigor, as he said, Wallace broached the subject of what is Larry David's worth? Well, what his wealth, his overall wealth. What ensued was a verbal sparring match of epic proportions. And Larry Davis was as serious as a heart attack. Never once, he's never one at all to mince words. Larry David fired back with a resounding none of your bleeping business. The tension was palpable as Chris Wallace attempted to navigate the fallout from Larry's fiery retort. On one hand, he's just doing his job, right? He's asking the tough questions that need to be asked. He even said, Barbara Walters said that these questions, she always said that these questions were certainly questions that should be asked. And then Larry David then went on to make a very, very, some would say, crude remark um, in response to that. But here, Larry David has no qualms about speaking his mind. So the broader argument is why I bring this up. Should the public have access, knowledge to the salaries of entertainers and athletes? Well, there's a case, right, as far as transparency is concerned. Why should celebrities get a free pass in a world where we demand to know every detail of our politicians' lives, for instance? Um, these individuals command immense wealth and influence. It's often thanks to the support of their fans. So shouldn't those fans have the right to know how their hard-earned money contributes to the lavish lifestyles of their idols? Um, had allergies this morning. But some facts and figures, right? According to Forbes, the three highest paid celebrities in 2023 were Adam Sandler, who made $73 million. Margot Robbie made $59 million last year, and Tom Cruise made $45 million. By the way, Denzel made $24 million in 2023. But we're talking overall billions of dollars here. And yet the public is expected to disregard these astronomical figures. That's one argument. But hold on a minute. What about the privacy, right? That's the other side of the argument. Celebrities are people too. They deserve the same rights to financial privacy as the rest of us. Just because they chose a career in the limelight doesn't mean we're entitled to every detail of their lives. And I think that was Larry David's point, but in a very, very uh, Larry David way, he said it. But athletes, for instance, Lionel Messi made $130 million last year. Cristiano Ronaldo more than doubled that. He made 275 million last year, and LeBron James made almost 128 million dollars last year. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars for kicking a ball or shooting it through the hoops. Well, shouldn't the public know where all that money is going? But here's the thing: these athletes have worked tirelessly to reach the top of their game, right? They've dedicated their lives to perfecting their craft, and they deserve to reap the rewards of their hard work. Who are we to begrudge them of their success? But the debate over celebrity salaries is a complex one with valid arguments on both sides. On one hand, there's the transparency, which is crucial for accountability and informed decision making. But um, then you can say, wait a minute, um, I don't need to see, and that's probably where we go crazy when we have a Diddy or Cosby or an R. Kelly or anyone, right? Um, they're not accountable to us, are they? Are they accountable to us in any way? Because here's where we can draw the line. If we have a problem with them, don't turn on the TV. Don't go to the theater when they're playing in the theater. Ignore their products. Southbound 3000. I'm trying to digest what he says. He says celebrities be having fake news banking accounts, so their fans want to see it all. But don't they have the right to privacy? I mean, we don't necessarily like, and corporate America is taboo to go around and either ask someone what they're making, your colleague, or certainly you can't in any way publish their salaries. Michelle Madison says that people are going to find out anyway if they are so inclined. Yeah, well, and so that's another thing. If the is the everyday Joe really that attached to wanting to know what somebody makes? How's that going to feed your bottom line or change your bottom line? Have a friend who always, even when we were younger, Reg always said his thing was always this. Are you paying to keep a roof over my head? Are you paying my light bill, my gas bill? Then I could care less. So um, that's just the way it is. So this argument that went on, it caught my attention because I saw it posted somewhere, and I said, "Check this out." And I just thought, wow, people are really invested in knowing what others, especially celebrities and athletes, make. And every time an athlete signs a contract, we know the details. We know it down to a T. We know what's deferred. We know what type of some athletes, big time athletes, they get even luxury boxes included in their compensation, private planes and things of that nature. We know, for instance, Beyonce went on tour last year, and that young lady that they continue to try to put up against Beyonce, what's her name, Taylor Swift. We know that they made billions of dollars on tour. At least they grossed billions of dollars in tour money last year. 96 says, just like Trump, fake news bank accounts with no money. And Power 96 is making it clear we will never find out how much is under his mattress. But I thought it was an interesting argument. Thought it was a really interesting argument, and was curious, and I'm seeing you guys chime in. I was curious as to what you thought, what our viewers felt. Should we know? Is it our business to know the wealth of a LeBron James, or in this case, a Larry David, or Lionel Messi, or any of the above? So really interesting stuff over the weekend. And Chris and Chris Wallace was he was so offended when and I understood that because he wasn't expecting him to respond that way. I mean, he said, "None of your bleeping business," and and he was like, "Are you kidding me? Did you really just say? Did you say what I think you said?" Oh gosh, it's like this. Look, it's just not. It's not important. It's not gonna. What informs me, and I'm of course speaking for myself. Um, David says he has no interest in the wealth of celebrities. Exactly. Um, you know, I like Denzel. I like Lorenz. Lorenz Tate. I just think is. We were talking about Lorenz Tate the other day at my house. I think it was. I think my sister was and niece, and I just think that this guy. I just love the way he performs. It's great actor, unsung. Um, but I'm going to see what the movie's about. I'm gonna read about it first, from I'm gonna check out the trailer, and that's gonna inform as to whether or not I go see or support a particular film. Not if these guys are billionaires. 'Cause certainly, if people didn't want to see somebody or buy their product because they were billionaires, then a lot of folks look, then they've stopped supporting like Beyonce and Rihanna and others, right? Come on. I applaud like Rihanna. Um, Not because we have kids together. No, I applaud Rihanna because she this was an individual who really, when they talk about self-made and all that stuff, I mean, as he's probably close to self-made as you can get. I mean, this woman worked extremely hard. She put the music aside and went and started venturing into, fragrances and um, women's lingerie, I guess you want to say, and other stuff. So, oh gosh. So it's not important. It's not important. You tip your hat to people who've been able to do well. That's all. Especially if they did it the right way. If they did it the right way, you certainly applaud them. Now, moving on to our top topic this morning, the George Floyd Memorial Scholarship offered at North Carolina Central in Minneapolis, Minnesota, is being accused of violating the Civil Rights Act, according to a federal complaint. And yes, shaking my head. We all should be shaking our heads. Um, the Legal Insurrection Foundation. Check the name out of this Trump supporting, MAGA supporting organization. It's called the Legal Insurrection Foundation. They filed the complaint on Monday with the U.S. Department of Education Office for Civil Rights. The conservative nonprofit says its mission is devoted to advancing free expression and academic freedom on campuses. The foundation claims the George Floyd Memorial Scholarship is violating Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which, quote, prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. To be eligible for the scholarship in question, the applicant must, quote, be a student who is Black or African American, that is, a person having origins in any of the Black racial groups of Africa, according to the university. Students who do not meet the racial category are automatically ineligible for the scholarship. And here's what this MAGA organization said: discrimination against white applicants is just as unlawful as discrimination against Black or other non white applicants. Once again, I go back to every time we advance that football upfield, get into the opponent's territory, they move the goalpost back. Um, you know, only a racist, only you have to be racist to not get this. You have to be a racist to file a lawsuit like this. Um, because this again was in response to finally, that one time in American history, modern American history at least, in 2020 after George Floyd's life was taken from him. Corporate America, others, finally, the world joined together and collectively said that it's time to recognize the value of African Americans. It's time to stop discriminating against African Americans. People like Mark Cuban came on our program, and Mark Cuban, who's probably just like everybody else today, has probably, that 2020 George Floyd is so far away now. They're probably back to their basics. But he said that he did not understand that he himself was racist until George Floyd, until his kids, he said, pointed out to him that he was racist. And then he proceeded to, try and make amends a little bit. He did some business. I don't know if he still does, but he did some business at that time. I helped facilitate it with the Dallas Weekly. Um, but folks, 2020 was that moment, and it wasn't supposed to be. And at the time, folks were even yelling that this is a movement, not a moment. This is a movement, not a moment. But then there were other folks like myself, and that's right. I'm gonna take some credit here. Who said this has all the markings, all of the based on what all of this talk and these promises and no signed contracts, no signed contracts, no long-term signed contracts. This has all the earmarks of a moment, not a movement. And folks were saying movement, not a moment. I was saying I could see that this is just a moment. I know there were others too, but I'm here to tell you, I said it then, and I continue to say it. I said it to certain people who should have listened, certain know-it-alls who oh yeah, whatever. That was the time to lock folks in. And now we got all of this going on. Not to say some of this would not be happening. Not to say a lot of it wouldn't be happening had they locked them in. But that's the point. Lock them in, they, they'd be stuck with certain things. I'm not gonna go into too much detail as to some certain things I was talking about. Just and to certain some ones. But there's one individual in particular who is a know-it-all. Nobody can say anything to that individual. Whatever you know, that individual knows 5 times more than you. And that individual gets other people to listen by talking and talking and talking and talking to the point you're exhausted. The people who try to talk to that individual, it's just like, you know what? Never mind. Despite their view and their point being the most valid. the most consequential. Folks, now we have them coming after something like the George Floyd Memorial Scholarship, which was created to contribute toward the educational promise of aspiring young Black American leaders. You see where things are going. You see where they're going. You got to stop it. You got to stop sleeping. Figure this thing out. Because over the weekend, the twice impeached, 4 times indicted former president, who twice the jury found to have sexually assaulted a woman, who has said he's going to be a dictator on day one, shared a video on social media that included an image of President Joe Biden bound and restrained in the back of a pickup truck. The 20-second video Trump indicated was taken on Long Island in New York. Shows a truck emblazoned with Trump 2024 in a large picture depicting Biden tied up and lying on his side. Trump was in Long Island Thursday for the wake of slain New York City police officer Jonathan Diller, which he turned that. And this is the thing. So he turned that into a campaign. The funeral of this officer, this young officer. And this is the thing with NYPD and law enforcement. How do you allow that? How do you allow that? Because again, the core of NYPD have been racist for a long, long time. But this is a guy, anytime you hurt a police officer, expect the whole mob treatment, the mafia treatment. You hurt one of mine, I'm killing 10 of yours. That's the police, right? Police officer gets killed, expect it to be much worse for you. Donald Trump and his insurrectionist January 6th. Do we forget NYPD? Do we forget law enforcement officers that 6 of your brothers lost their lives because of Donald Trump's actions on January 6th, because of the insurrection? 6. So it's okay for this guy to come to the funeral of one of your comrades who tragically and unthinkably lost his life doing his job. And then to have this image depicted. Now, naturally, I'm sure, again, through the eyes and lens of most of those in the NYPD, they had no problem with the imagery. But the fact that they allowed this man to come over to that funeral and turn it into a campaign event is absolutely disgusting. And his spokesperson, Trump's spokesperson, Stephen Chung, had the audacity to call Democrats crazed lunatics. I mean, you talk about living in a glass house, shattered windows already, and you throwing stones. And this idea, and as he goes on to say, as he has clearly drank the grape Kool-Aid, that they are weaponizing the justice system against Trump. It's in the barbershop 2 weeks ago. It's time to go again, as you guys can see. And the guy one of the guys in the chair says, Trump has committed victimless crimes. I said, what in the Jim Jones Kool-Aid you drinking over there? This is so lunatic, it's lunacy that that this idea that any of his crimes are victimless. Even the documents case. The documents case say, oh, look, Biden, but he didn't prosecute Biden. The other presidents took on documents. They did. They absolutely did. You're 100% right on that part of it. It's alleged that Trump, and this comes directly from a congressional investigative committee, was selling information to foreign entities. No one alleged that, and there's not one slice of evidence that Biden, Obama, Clinton, Bush did that. And the other part of the coin is that when they found the documents, they voluntarily turned them over to the National Archives or to the federal government, federal agents. Trump did not. They also got upset with President Biden, who said this of Donald Trump. If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym. This is a direct quote from the president. Take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him if he heard Trump demeaning women. They got upset over that. They got upset. And on the other hand, Biden's spokesperson said this image from Trump is the type of crap you post when you're calling for a bloodbath or when you tell the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. You remember that, right? Oh, how easy we forget. He said that Trump is regularly inciting political violence and it's time people take him seriously. Just ask the Capitol police officers who were attacked protecting our democracy on January 6th. Mike Lee said the only document he left behind was Platinum Plan. And yes, Power 96, some of those barbershop voters are not the sharpest tools in the shed. There's no question. I usually mind my business I don't say nothing. But I had to say something at that point. I'm saying because we were just doing I think I had just finished an article too, that I was writing. And it's just like a knee-jerk reaction. I was like, are you kidding me? Why don't you try doing what he did? Why don't you try lying on your loan application or your insurance application where it says under the penalty of perjury? This is like those idiots that are in jail over the insurrection. It's like, come on. You tried it and you found out. You messed around and found out. And indeed, on March 16th, just a couple of weeks ago, Trump vowed that there would be a quote bloodbath if he loses the election. Last year, you remember, before he was indicted 4 times, 91 counts, felony counts, he warned of death and destruction if he were to be charged in his hush money case, which actually starts in 2 weeks. He also shared an article on Truth Social that had an image of him with a baseball bat, taking a baseball bat to Manhattan District Attorney's Alvin Bragg's head. And he's still going at it. He's going after the judge in the case, the judge's daughter. And this is after the judge issued a gag order. Now, Mr. Barbershop man, you think you can publicly go after the judge and his daughter? Try it. You're not even involved in the case. But try going on social media and posting threats or the like against the judge, that judge and his daughter, or any judge and his daughter. Next thing you hear is try it. Oh boy. We turn our attention to Utah. The Coeur d'Alene Police Department has released video related, or they have
It's
obtained
real,
video.
and it happens, and it's awful for our players and staff to not feel safe in an NCAA tournament environment. It's messed up. We had several instances of some kind of racial hate crimes towards our program, and incredibly upsetting for all of us. And you think in our worlds, in athletics and in university settings, it's shocking. In a like there's so much diversity on a college campus, and so you're just not exposed to that very often. And so when you are, it's like, and you have people say, "Man, I can't believe that happened," but racism is real, and it happens, and
Racism is real.
it's awful. And so for our
Um,
players, whether they are, white,
Michelle
black,
Madison said
green,
her heart
whatever,
ached for that,
no one
for
knew
those
how to
female
handle it.
players. The team was staying at a resort in Idaho after it was selected to play in the NCAA tournament in Spokane. So they got a police escort to out of Washington State to the state line. They were not met with a police escort in Utah. And so what happened, that was number one. Number two, the team, as they walked from the hotel to a downtown restaurant, they were followed by drivers in a truck who were shouting racial slurs at them. When they left dinner to return to their hotel, the driver and others followed them back to their hotel, revving up their truck engines and harassing them. It happened just before they played South Dakota State. The problem here, a few years ago, the NCAA said that they would ensure that the site, every site in their tournament would be safe, a safe site and an inclusive site. This was neither. This was absolutely neither. And and they wound up losing. And you could understand. As the coach said, it was incredibly upsetting for all of them. For our players and staff to not feel safe in an NCAA tournament environment, that's messed up. And that area, folks, and the NCAA knows this. It's commonly known. The area has a well-known history of racism, white supremacy, bigotry, and racial violence. It was just last year that 5 members of the hate group, the Patriot Front, were convicted for planning to violently violently disrupt. This is so angering. A pride event there, and all of that information was available to the NCAA. As Jamel Hill, one of my favorites, pointed out. And even more troubling was that since the team was over the state line, as we said earlier, the state police escort have been assigned no jurisdiction over what occurred in Idaho. This was avoidable as much as it is terrible. And as Jamel Hill and others have stated, this incident is just the most recent in a pattern of long-standing disregard when it comes to protecting marginalized student athletes, particularly Black women athletes. We know what happened down south. I think one of the Howard University had an incident. Their team and others. Power 96 says rednecks can never explain to me why they worship the Confederate battle flag. They lost the war, or I explained to them, your ancestors came in second place. And Andrew Connolly says, back to the pickup truck with Trump. Same pickup truck, same pickup truck thinking. That's the symbol, right? That we know about about the pickup truck. The family of Ahmaud Arbery knows it all too well. And then earlier, you guys had posted about DE&I, and now has been co-opted as a racial slur. It's just, again, pay attention. Is DE&I is now considered, they're using it as a racial slur now. We saw it in Baltimore last week. You had the great sight and show of strength by Governor Westmore and Mayor Brandon Scott. And now it's a racial slur. DE&I programs have become a frequent target of right-wing activists. We talked about it a little bit earlier already. And Republican lawmakers are backing dozens of bills targeting DE&I initiatives at universities and other public institutions. And again, bringing up Mayor Scott. How do you say the mayor was a diversity hire? First and foremost, Baltimore has had a number of Black mayors, including a couple of Black women mayors in recent history. But this is what these are elected officials calling Mayor Scott a diversity hire. He was elected, by the way, with more than 70% of the vote in a city with a predominantly Black population. There was a post on Twitter or X that called him the DEI mayor, and that is a verified account with about 300,000 followers, and that post amassed over 25 million views. And of course, Mayor Scott went on to talk with one of our favorites, Joyanne Reed, about it. And he said, those folks, they want to say uh, the N word. He says, I know, and we know, and you know very well that black men and young black men in particular have been the boogeyman for those who are racist and think that only straight, wealthy white men should have a say in anything. He said, "We've been the boogeyman for them since the first day they brought us to this country. And what they mean by DEI, in my opinion, is duly elected incumbent." He says, "We know what they want to say, but they don't have the courage to say the N word. And the fact that I don't believe in their untruthful and wrong ideology, and I am very proud of my heritage and who I am and where I come from, scares them." You know, he was right. He is right. He says, "Because me being at my position means that their way of thinking, their way of life, of being comfortable while everyone else suffers is going to be at risk. And they should be afraid because that's my purpose in life." David says that, Mike V says, "I would love to see Barrington and Christopher Rufo debate on Let It Be Known." Michelle Madison said they want to use them for their skills, but the NCAA women's basketball failed to protect the young ladies. Yeah, of course, without question. Conservatives did the same with CRT. Yep, Power 96. And he says, with the logic of the conservatives, can every white player on the University of Alabama football team a DEI pick? Yeah, for Anthony Sabatini, a Florida congressional candidate, and Utah State Representative Phil Lyman were among those who hit out at Brandon Scott and Westmore, calling them DEI hires, and that the bridge situation was the fault of DE&I, which is absolutely asinine and extremely racist, of course. This is, but again, you have to understand that as President Biden said last week, and I thought was very, very something to really pay attention to, because not simply because he said it, but what he said. He said, "Trump wants to take you back to the 18th and 19th century." And the thing I keep saying, and they want to continue to, people, there are certain individuals, the obvious Tim Scott, Clarence Thomas, Byron Donalds, and then folks like Ice Cube and Snoop Dogg, and they want to tell you that Trump's their guy. The thing about it is this, and Biden said it, he wants to take you back to 18th, 19th century. Biden not getting reelected is not going to affect Biden. It just means that he has less worry in his for the remainder of his life. It's not going to affect your uh, white guy next door. Not the way it's going to affect you, person of color. And Killer Mike, of course. Killer Mike has been lost for a long time, apparently. David says these white guys say things in safe white spaces and never want to argue their position around black people. Yeah. The thing about it is, again, as I mentioned earlier with the George Floyd situation, you can't let, you should not have let them off the hook in 2020. There, in addition to these promises that you had to know it wasn't going to be fulfilled. You had to know that. Unless you got an ironclad signed contract. And that, in many cases, did not happen. Oh, the world was better now all of a sudden. White folks were coming around. They understand. I mean, look,
Hey guys, so a lot of MAGAs are mad and freaking out about my previous commentary on this here app about their DEI, their new, mini slurs. They had to replace CRT with something because, in the end, they really don't know what critical race theory is, even when you explain it to them. It's a, law school level course, so it's a little complicated. But DEI is one they can seize on easily because to them it just means black people, right? Anytime they see anybody black in a position of power or authority or with resources or successful, it pisses them off, right? So that their new slur for that is DEI. And therefore, when the Baltimore Bridge collapse happens, they use that as an opportunity to express their outrage that the mayor of Baltimore is black. They're outraged that the governor of Maryland is black. And so they're both somehow DEI. He's a DEI mayor. Based on what? I'm sorry. He's a young black mayor of a 60% black city. He ran for office. In what way did he not earn his position? He was literally elected to office. So you guys think that simply because he's a black man elected to office, he didn't earn his position? That's literally what getting elected is. You earn the votes of the people, and then you are duly elected. That's why he switched DEI to duly elected incumbent, because that's what he is. But you guys are mad about it. Why? What about him makes his position unearned? Just explain it to me. Explain it to me like I'm 5. You can't, right? What about him is DEI to you? Could it be, I don't know, the fact that he's black? Because that's the only logical explanation for what you're mad at him about, right? He didn't cause the bridge collapse. Nothing he did caused the bridge collapse. He's the mayor of the city. He's doing what mayors are supposed to do. Here's the statement that person that called him the DEI mayor. Here's the statement he was actually making in the actual clip that person posted, reposted with that vile comment.
Everyone, this is a unthinkable tragedy. We have to first and foremost pray for all of those who are impacted, those families. Pray for our first responders and thank them, all of them working together, city, state, local, to make sure that.
So he's calling for healing. He's calling for understanding. Here's what he said on my show, on the readout, about what he wants to see happen in the community that was impacted by the bridge collapse.
Well, first I have to talk about those lives that we lost. Those folks came to this country to fulfill the American dream, the dream that they say should exist for everyone, but they really mean just for them. They were working, filling potholes in the middle of the night, so all of us use that bridge could transit, had better transit. This port is one of the most important, not just in the U.S., but in the world. And these folks that depend on these jobs, we are going to be working very quickly alongside and following the lead of our federal government, our state government, supporting in every way we can to get this port open back up. But we have to do that safely, in the right way, to make sure that nothing else happens in the getting it back up and working. We're going to do that each and every day. Everybody is working here together. We're ignoring all the conspiracy theorists, everyone who's playing bridge engineer at home, who's never even taken a class on engineering, and understanding that what this is about is showing the world once and again that Baltimore can't be broken, that our spirit is strong, and we will rebuild together and honor those who we lost.
So what is your problem with that, MAGAs? Can you explain it to me? Again, like I'm 5. What's your problem with what he said? What's your problem with him? Can you explain it? What about him is DEI to you? Tell me what about him is didn't earn it. Just explain it. You can't, because, you don't want to say the thing. As he said, you just don't have the cojones to say what you really mean. But we understand what you mean. And we do. And you can be mad at me for understanding what you mean, but that doesn't mean that I don't, because I do.
Right. 100%. 100%. Well, folks, again, we continue to try and supplement the information you already have, arming you with even more here on Let It Be Known. Please, again, subscribe to our YouTube page, Let It Be Known News, LIBK-News, and share your thoughts and continue to encourage others to tune in, because we're not going to give you fake news. We're definitely not going to give you fake news. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday, and we will see you tomorrow.